Hey guys, how's it going today? I'm working on the big yellow bastard again. I am probably most excited about this build in particular. And I just don't know, I just want to get ported and get together. And what really got me going on it today was the fact that my stuffer plate finally showed up. So I didn't have one. I was going to steal the one from the Super 250. But now that I want to kind of keep that saw together and complete, I just can't tear it apart. I've got to keep that stuffer plate with that saw. But this stuffer plate's off of a similar saw where the stuffer plate is separate. And I'm going to go over doing stuff with the crankcase and whatnot, and we're going to start doing some porting stuff. I'm going to try and do kind of the upper transfers here on video, removing the bridge, cutting the base of this skirt off to give more flow to it from the reeds. My plan is to fill the block partially with like JB Weld. There was a guy on the vintage karting forum that I came across this where he filled, or he came across an engine that was built by a guy that owned a machine shop years ago, that filled the third port induction up with DevCon and put it all up around here. He notched it out for the reeds to flow, and he made his own transfers. He even filled the crankcase with it. He made his own stuffer plate. The guy went nuts on it, and he even went so far as to add finger ports in it. So if you see where the third port is, see, I've got a flashlight now. I was gonna forget about that, but you can see where I've got it marked, where I got that Sharpie marking it off. Right in there is where he came up from basically the crankcase. You can see the third port induction hole. All right, and he made finger ports coming up the sides. And that's cool and all, and I thought maybe what I could do is cut this out, block it off, because there was, I think Vintage Karting on YouTube did this, where he cut down this wall on an MC5. Well, I think it was a 150 block, I think, like this. And he cut the wall down and made a boost port out of third port induction. And I thought about doing the same thing, but I think right now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the third port area. And in the future, I could add a single finger port all the way from the crankcase. So that way everything feeds the same way. But I'm not going to do boost ports right now. I just don't think that I really need them. And one thing I am thinking about doing is, this is a 7-port block, the 150s are. So they had 3 exhaust ports. So I've already done the ports. I did that like the other day. I need to kind of finish up in here where, here, I'll try and get a light so you can see. Maybe not. There you go. Now you can see it. You can see kind of that dark spot on the sides of these outer ports. That needs to go away. That's basically what's left of the lip from when they drilled these ports out at the factory. And what that's doing is, if we look inside, is that's giving a much wider exhaust port. All right. A much wider exhaust port. So I'm going to be leaving those bridges in. One thing I wish this was a I wish this could have been a 6-port engine, so that it didn't have that center exhaust port, and then I could make a single exhaust bridge. But I have found one, but I don't think I'm going to be buying it. The guy wants a pretty penny for it. I think it'd be like $100 once it's shipped to my house with the piston and I guess it's a pretty penny, not really that much money, but it's more than I want to spend at the moment. So I'm going to work with what I have. I think this block shipped to my house was 40 bucks. So I'm okay with it. I mean, it has, like I said, it had been honed, and somebody was going to make something out of it, but now I am. And the timing numbers currently is 96 on the exhaust port opening. It started off at 101. If I swap the piston out, I could then change that. I could change by sticking a taller piston in it, because I measured the deck clearance on this saw, and it was like 35 thousandths. And, you know, that's not a lot for quench, especially once you put, like, say, a 10 thousandths head gasket in here. Now you're looking at 45 thousandths. So you have a really, really wide, you know, a really tall quench. So if I was to stick a taller piston in, it would change these timing numbers again. I'd probably be closer to 98 on the center port. Because the way I did this is the center port comes in and opens up 2 degrees before the 2 outers. So this one opens at 96, and then these two open at 98. And the idea was to be progressive. So I'm going to get set up here and start taking out this bridge, and I will bring you guys back. Okay, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about before I started on the porting, and that is these stuffer plates. If you see inside there, maybe you can see, if I set my flashlight up here, maybe you can see down in there, you can see how this stuffer plate right in here in the corners has got it has some gaps right in here. You can see it over here as well. If I fill that in, that's reducing case volume. One more thing, actually I don't need to take this off right now to show you. So if we look down in the very bottom, I can get my screwdriver up underneath this stuffer plate, up underneath this finger. This is unnecessary volume. It will create a turbulence with the transfers coming through. Okay? At least that's what I'm thinking. Because as this crank spins around, it's rotating in this direction. Alright, so the crank, if I put it back together, is rotating like this when the engine's running. Alright, pulling that chain. That's how it's running. You can see there's a shelf right here. That air, as it's coming down over the crank, runs into this wall instead of just going directly into the transfer. So my plan is to fill this entire floor with JB weld and clean that up. And then this port right here, I'm sure you can see, is not drilled. It has no connection to these two other ports. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that with JB weld. Same thing right here. I'm going to leave this bridge mostly intact, except for like right along here. This one's going to get removed, this bridge here. And my plan is to have, originally to have 2 large intake ports. Widen this one up, bring this one all the way over, but the more I thought about it, is like, well, what if I was to just cut this bridge out and widen this and make one big intake port on the top and bottom? So I take the bridge out of it right here. So that's my plan so far, is to basically, instead of having 2 large intake ports, I can have 3 exhaust ports and 1 big intake, or 1 big transfer port on the top and bottom transfers. So like I said, let me go ahead and get set up here. I need to make sure that my air compressor is on and has enough air, and I'll get back with you guys. probably wondering why I'm using a glove and this really long shank bit. And that's because of how thick the flutes are on them. I think you can see that. Compared to that, the regular carbide insert. So I've got to use this glove to try and balance it a little bit, because if you look, it kind of moves around a little bit, but if I stick my glove on it, I can kind of control that just a little bit, because I need to use these larger flutes because this aluminum will clog up these smaller ones. These are better for like steel and stuff like that. But these long shanks are really good for when I've got to come all the way down through this block and get to those second transfer ports. But I'm going to do the top ones first. So I'm going to try and use the same tooling for both the top and bottom transfers. Right now I'm just kind of blending the bridge that I've taken out right in here. I'll take it off and show you guys what I've done so far. So this is what I've done so far. I've taken out these dividers like I said I would. I'll knock out some of these metal shavings. I've got the crank in it right now to try and protect this needle bearing over here. It's a lot easier to clean out this ball bearing and replace it. So, but yeah, that's what I've got going on right now. It's kind of roughed in. I'm going to try and finish this out with my Dremel and using like a sanding disc, or just use the regular Dremel tool, because these, like I said, these larger flutes are pretty aggressive. But my plan, like I said, is to then take out this bridge and this intake, a transfer port here, and to widen it. I was thinking at one point of either drilling out so I'd have basically a 9-port block instead of a 7-port. But I changed my mind and said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and put this transfer here because, or make the transfers like that, because if I shine a light in here, you can see that those transfers, those transfers are going to be pretty much across from the exhaust port, so it'll pull a little better. Because having, say, one of the transfers here is, if you look, it's pretty close to this exhaust port, so they're not going to pull through it as good, at least the way I'm thinking about it. So just trying to give the best chances that I can to this engine, to try and make the most amount of bottom end. And that's what I want to get out of this saw. I want to get bottom end out of it. So I'm going to keep kind of working away at this. I'm leaving, like I said, this divider here, so I plan on using it to help me fill in this area with that JB weld. Maybe I'll start taking this transfer divider out as well, this bridge basically. So I think I'll start with that right now. Kind of an awkward angle sitting here. I'm trying to keep this clamped to the table so it doesn't move. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting in the way, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn you guys off for right now. I have it pretty well finished out. Let me turn off my compressor. Okay, that way you guys can hear me. I've got that bridge cut down. I was finalizing it with the with one of those shorter bits, but you can see the intake that I wanted to do. I haven't really done anything with the roof yet because I plan on coming in with this bit here, this rounded one, at an angle like this, and cutting down this floor. So I can probably use one of these shorter ones to cut the floor down a little bit, and then I can come in and, you know, raise the roof on this to the scribe line that I have. I kind of started roughing it in with my Dremel, but I knew it was going to take too long. So I don't know if you can see the line that I scribed in there or not. Probably not. I can see it, but if I was to put like a Sharpie or something on it, then maybe you could see it too. Yeah, I'm not gonna fool around with that too much right now. But I still need to, like I said, I need to come in and finish doing what I'm doing. I'm thinking I'm gonna knock out the plugs on this thing so I can widen the lower transfer holes. But that's basically what I'm going to have for my upper, and then my lower, as you can see straight across, I'm going to try and widen it as well. I'm going to point with my screwdriver through the port, but I'm going to try and widen it out just like I did here on both sides and cut the bridge out. And I'm sure somebody's freaking out right now. Oh my god, you took out the bridge, the rings are going to hang. Well, that's why I'm increasing the intake transfer timing the way that I am. I'm basically putting a very heavy chamfer on it. It's going to be a slanted roof instead of a 90 degree roof like the way it is right now. It's going to be more at an angle, like at a 45. So the likelihood of me catching a ring is pretty low. Now on the lower portion, yeah, I'm going to have to put a heavy transfer on that. I mean, chamfer on the lower portion of this transfer port to keep from hanging a ring when the piston's on its way down the cylinder. So yeah, I need to go ahead and kind of finish cleaning this stuff up. You know, I mean, maybe now you can really see, like if I put this here, you can see two of those exhaust ports. So it's going to pull through those transfers and into that exhaust. Or using the exhaust pulse to pull through those transfers a lot better using just a single large port instead of having, you know, 3 smaller ones. I think that's going to work out just fine. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. I'm just going to keep on pecking away at this and eventually have it finished out by the time that I do the next video. I've got some stuff I got to do with my Super Pro 81 today as well. That's going to become a video in the future. I need to go ahead and do timing numbers. But like I said, this is all I have for today. Just doing basic cylinder work. Kind of collecting up some nice aluminum shavings so I can use in my epoxy or my JB weld for when I do the case and the stuffer plate. Because I'm going to try and fill in right here where it's white. Those areas need to be filled in level with this. And then the floor of this needs to be filled in. And I'm thinking a little bit right in here on the top and bottom. Just enough for the rod to clear. But I'll have to see how close I get with the rod when I have the stuffer plate on. But I think there's enough room. But that's all I have for today, like I said, for the big yellow bastard. And until next time, see y'all later.